"You're bleeding on my porch." The woman swayed, gripping the door frame with white knuckles. Blood soaked through her torn sleeve, dripping onto the snow. "Are you Thomas Garrett?" Tom stared at the stranger. Mud-splattered dress, wild dark hair, eyes sharp despite the pain. "Who's asking?" "Emma Hartley, your wife." She collapsed forward, and he barely caught her before she hit the ground. Tom kicked the door shut against the December wind, laying her on the kitchen table. This wasn't the neat, proper bride he'd expected from the agency. He grabbed whiskey and clean rags, pushing up her sleeve. A deep gash ran from elbow to wrist, fresh, still bleeding. "What happened?" he demanded, pressing the rag hard against the wound. She hissed through her teeth. "Stagecoach overturned. Driver's dead. 3 others injured worse than me. Where are they?" 2 miles south. "I walked here." Her eyes locked on his. "You have medical supplies." "Some." "Why'd you leave them?" "Because I'm supposed to be here by Christmas Eve. That's today." She sat up despite his protest, examining her own arm with clinical precision. "I need needle and thread. Catgut, if you have it." Tom fetched his sewing kit, watching as she threaded the needle with steady hands. "You're going to stitch yourself?" "Unless you know how." She didn't wait for an answer, piercing her own skin without flinching. He'd seen men cry over less. "Where'd you learn that?" "My father was a doctor." The lie came smooth, practiced. "I assisted him." Through the window, Tom spotted his foreman riding hard toward the house. He stepped outside, meeting Jake on the porch. "Boss, we got a problem," Jake panted. "Found 6 more dead this morning. That's 18 head in 3 days. Tom's stomach dropped. 18 cattle. At this rate, he'd lose the entire herd before New Year's. Same symptoms? Worse. These ones died faster. Whatever it is, it's spreading. Behind him, the door opened. Emma stood there, pale but upright, her arm crudely bandaged. "Show me." "This ain't your concern," Tom said. "I'm your wife now. Everything here is my concern." She grabbed a coat from the hook. "Take me to the cattle." The barn reeked of death and sickness. Emma moved between the stalls, ignoring Tom's protests, examining the living cattle with hands that knew exactly what they were doing. She checked eyes, gums, pressed on stomachs, studied their breathing. "When did it start?" she asked. "Week ago. Thought it was just winter sickness at first." She knelt beside a dying heifer, running her hands along its distended belly. "This isn't winter sickness. You're losing them to anthrax." Tom froze. "That's impossible. Anthrax comes from bad soil, contaminated feed. I've used the same suppliers for years." Then something changed. Emma stood, her face grim. "How many head total?" 200. "This is everything I have." "Not anymore. You'll lose them all within 2 weeks unless we act now." She turned to Jake. "I need you to separate the sick from the healthy immediately. Different pastures, different water sources. Burn the dead ones. Don't bury them. The spores survive in soil for decades." Jake looked at Tom, confused. "Boss?" Tom studied Emma, this stranger who'd walked through his door an hour ago, who spoke with authority about things no housewife should know. "How do you know this?" Her jaw tightened. "Does it matter?" "Yeah, it does." "Then let your cattle die while you ask questions." She pushed past him toward the door. "I'll do it myself." Tom grabbed her uninjured arm. "Wait, Jake, do what she says. Separate them now." For the next 6 hours, they worked in brutal cold. Emma directed the operation like a general. Cattle separated, sick ones quarantined, dead ones dragged to a burning pit. She examined every animal, marking the infected with red paint, her movements efficient despite the injury. Tom watched her check a steer's temperature, her hands gentle but confident. "You're no doctor's assistant." "No," she admitted, not looking at him. "I'm not. So who are you?" Before she could answer, a rider thundered into the yard, Sheriff Morrison, with 3 armed men behind him. "Emma Hartley," Morrison's voice boomed across the ranch. "You're under arrest for practicing veterinary medicine without a license and fraud." Emma's face went white. Tom stepped between her and the sheriff. What's this about? That woman's a criminal. Pretended to be a licensed veterinarian in Denver, treated animals illegally. Caused the death of a prize stallion worth $5,000. Owner wants her prosecuted. The stallion had a twisted intestine, Emma shouted. It was dying before I touched it. The owner waited too long to call for help. Tell it to the judge. You're coming with us. Tom's mind raced. If they took her now, his cattle would die. The ranch would be finished. But harboring a fugitive, she's my wife, he said. Married legal this morning. Morrison's eyes narrowed. That so? Got papers? Coming on tomorrow's post. We arranged it through the bride agency. Tom met Emma's shocked gaze. She's under my protection now. Marriage doesn't erase crimes, Garrett. No, but it means you need a warrant to take her from my property. You got one? The sheriff's jaw worked. I'll be back with one. Don't let her leave town. He wheeled his horse around, his men following. Emma stared at Tom. Why did you do that? Because I need you to save my cattle. After that, we'll figure out the rest. He headed toward the barn. Now tell me how to cure anthrax. You can't cure it. You can only prevent it from spreading. She followed him inside. The infected ones will die. Our job is to save the others. How? Vaccination. But we'd need anthrax serum, and the nearest supplier is in Cheyenne. 3 days' ride in good weather. Tom looked out at the darkening sky, heavy with snow. Storms coming tonight. Roads will be impassable by morning. Then we're out of options. Emma's voice was flat. I'm sorry. A memory struck him. Wait, Doc Patterson in town. He treats people and animals both. Might have something. If he's licensed, he won't help me. I'm wanted. He doesn't have to know who you are. Tom grabbed his coat. Jake, saddled 2 horses. The ride into town took 30 minutes through biting wind. Tom led Emma through the back door of Patterson's office, finding the old doctor closing up for the night. Tom, what's wrong? Need your help. Doc got cattle dying of anthrax. You have any serum? Patterson's face fell. Had some last month. Used it all on the Henderson ranch. Won't get more until spring shipment. Emma stepped forward. What about making it fresh? You can't make anthrax vaccine without... Patterson stopped, studying her. Who are you? Someone who knows you can culture attenuated bacteria from infected tissue if you have the right equipment. Do you? The doctor's eyes widened. You're trained? Yes. Where? That doesn't matter right now, Tom interrupted. Can it be done? Patterson looked between them. Theoretically, yes, but it's dangerous. If the culture isn't properly attenuated, it could kill the healthy cattle faster than the disease. I can do it, Emma said. I've done it before. When? Where? She hesitated. Denver. Last year. I saved 40 head for a rancher named Collins. Collins. Patterson's face changed. You're Emma Hartley, the one they're looking for. Tom's hand moved to his gun. Doc, relax, son. I don't care about Denver politics. Patterson unlocked a cabinet. But if we're doing this, we're doing it right. Miss Hartley, you'll work here, where I have proper equipment. Tom, you'll need to bring me tissue samples from a freshly dead animal. Sheriff's coming back with a warrant, Tom said. Then we'd better work fast. They worked through the night. Tom brought samples from a heifer that had died that evening. Emma set up Patterson's laboratory with practiced ease, culturing bacteria, testing attenuation levels, preparing syringes. The old doctor watched her work with growing respect. You're better than most licensed vets I've seen, he said quietly. I was licensed, in Philadelphia. Before, she didn't finish. Before what? Emma's hands never stopped moving. Before I testified against a wealthy man's son for animal cruelty, he had connections, got my license revoked, spread lies about my competence. I came west to start over, but the lies followed me. Tom, watching from the doorway, felt something shift in his chest. The stallion in Denver was already dying when they brought it to me, but I was unlicensed, so when it died, I was an easy target. She held up a vial of pale liquid. This is ready. We need to test it on one animal first. If it survives 12 hours without reaction, we can vaccinate the rest. Dawn was breaking when they returned to the ranch. Emma injected a healthy steer with the vaccine while Tom and Jake watched. Now came the waiting. At noon, Sheriff Morrison returned with a warrant and a well-dressed man Tom didn't recognize. Thomas Garrett. The stranger said, "I'm Howard Blackwell, attorney for Marcus Pemberton of Denver. My client demands the return of his property." "What property?" "The woman calling herself Emma Hartley. She's indentured to Mr. Pemberton for the sum of $5,000, the value of the stallion she killed. Until that debt is paid, she belongs to him." Tom's blood ran cold. Indentured? That's slavery. It's legal debt bondage, signed by Miss Hartley herself to avoid prison. Blackwell produced papers. She ran before serving her term. That makes her a fugitive and a thief. Emma emerged from the barn, her face ashen. "I signed under duress. Pemberton said it was that or hang." "The law doesn't care about duress," Morrison said, almost apologetically. "I have to take you in." Tom stepped in front of her again. "She's my wife. That debt transfers to me." Blackwell smiled coldly. "You willing to pay $5,000 for a woman you met yesterday?" $5,000. Tom's entire ranch wasn't worth half that. "I'll pay it." "Tom, no," Emma started. "In installments," he continued. $500 now. The rest over 2 years. Mr. Pemberton wants his money now. Then Mr. Pemberton can come collect it himself instead of sending lawyers. Tom's hand rested on his gun. "Or he can accept my terms." Blackwell's eyes narrowed. "You're making a mistake, Garrett. Won't be my first. Sheriff, unless you're planning to arrest me too, get off my land." Morrison hesitated, then nodded. "I'll wire Denver, see what Pemberton says." "But Blackwell's right. You're in over your head, Tom." They left. Emma turned to Tom, her eyes bright with unshed tears. "You can't pay that. You'll lose everything. Already losing everything. At least this way I'm choosing how." He nodded toward the barn. "How's our test subject?" The steer was alive, healthy, showing no adverse reaction. They spent the afternoon vaccinating every uninfected animal on the ranch, back-breaking work that left them both exhausted. By evening, they'd treated over 100 head. Tom found Emma in the barn after dark, checking on the quarantined cattle. "You should rest. That arm needs healing. These 3 might make it through the night." She stroked a sick cow's flank. "The others, I'm sorry. You saved most of them. That's more than I could have done alone." She looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time. "Why are you doing this? You don't know me. Know enough. You're smart, brave, and you care about things most people wouldn't." He leaned against the stall. "That's more than I expected from a mail-order bride. I'm not really your wife." "Could be, if you wanted." Emma's breath caught. "Tom." The barn door crashed open. Jake stumbled in, blood streaming from his head. "Boss, riders coming, 20 or more." Tom grabbed his rifle. "Pemberton?" "Don't know." "They're armed, moving fast." Through the window, Tom saw torches approaching, too many to fight. He turned to Emma. "There's a root cellar under the house. You can hide." "I'm done hiding." She picked up a shotgun from the wall rack. "If they want me, they'll have to take me." Should Emma fight or run? Drop your thoughts below. The riders surrounded the house. Tom recognized Pemberton from newspaper sketches, a fat man in expensive clothes sitting his horse like a sack of grain. Behind him, hired guns with dead eyes. Garrett. Pemberton's voice was high, nasal. "Send out my property, and nobody gets hurt." Tom stepped onto the porch, rifle ready. Emma stood beside him. "She's not property. She's my wife. Your wife is a thief and a liar. I'm taking her back to Denver to face justice." "You mean face your revenge, because she told the truth about your son." Emma's voice rang clear. "Everyone in Denver knows he's a sadist who tortured that horse for sport. I tried to save it from what he'd done. Lies." Pemberton's face purpled. My son is a gentleman. Your son is a monster, and you're worse for protecting him. Emma raised her shotgun. I'm not going back. Pemberton nodded to his men. They drew their guns. Tom fired first, a warning shot over their heads. First man who aims at this house dies. I've got 6 rifles pointed at you from the barn and bunkhouse. You want a war, we'll give you one. It was a bluff. Jake and 2 ranch hands were all he had. But in the darkness, Pemberton couldn't know that. You're protecting a criminal. Pemberton snarled. I'm protecting my wife. There's a difference. A new voice cut through the tension. Actually, you're protecting an innocent woman. Doc Patterson rode into the firelight, holding up papers. Just received this telegram from the Philadelphia Veterinary Board. Emma Hartley's license was reinstated last month. Turns out the board investigated Pemberton's son independently and found evidence of animal cruelty. Miss Hartley's testimony was vindicated. Pemberton's face went white. That's impossible. It's also illegal to hold someone in debt bondage for a crime they didn't commit. Patterson handed the papers to Sheriff Morrison, who'd ridden up behind him. Sheriff, I believe Mr. Pemberton is the one who should be arrested. Morrison read the telegram, his expression hardening. Marcus Pemberton, you're under arrest for fraud and false imprisonment. Men, lower your weapons. The hired guns hesitated, then holstered their pistols. They were paid fighters, not murderers. Pemberton sputtered protests as Morrison cuffed him, but it was over. Emma lowered her shotgun, her hands shaking. Tom caught her as her knees buckled, holding her steady. It's done, he murmured. You're free. She looked up at him, tears finally falling. I don't have to marry you now. The debt's gone. I know. You don't have to pay anything. I know that too. So why are you still holding me? Tom smiled. Because I'm hoping you'll stay anyway. Not as an obligation. As a choice. Emma was quiet for a long moment. Then she kissed him, soft and quick, but real. I'll stay, she whispered. But not as your wife, not yet. Let's start as partners and see where it goes. Partners in what? Ranching and veterinary medicine. This territory needs good animal doctors. I could set up a practice here, help ranchers like you. Her eyes brightened with possibility. We could build something together, something real. Tom thought about his dying ranch, the cattle they'd saved, the woman who'd fought beside him. Yeah, we could. 3 months later, the ranch was thriving. The vaccinated cattle survived, and Emma's reputation as a skilled veterinarian spread across the territory. Ranchers came from 50 miles away seeking her help. Tom found her in the new clinic they'd built beside the house, treating a rancher's injured horse. She worked with confident precision, the same way she'd stitched her own arm that first day. Got a minute? He asked. Almost done. She finished bandaging the horse's leg, then turned to him. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Just thinking about how I ordered a wife for Christmas and got a partner instead. He pulled a small box from his pocket. Wondering if you'd consider a promotion. Emma stared at the ring inside. Simple gold. Nothing fancy. Tom, no obligation, no debt, just a question. He met her eyes. Will you marry me? For real this time? She smiled, that rare full smile he'd learned to treasure. Yes, but I'm keeping my practice. Wouldn't have it any other way. They married on a spring morning, with half the territory in attendance. Doc Patterson officiated. Jake stood as best man, and Emma wore a dress that didn't have a single bloodstain. As they stood on the porch of their ranch, their home, watching the sun set over healthy cattle, Tom pulled her close. Best Christmas present I ever got, he said. Emma laughed. I showed up bleeding and brought a sheriff to your door. Yeah, and you saved everything that mattered. He kissed her forehead. Merry Christmas, partner. Merry Christmas, husband. The ranch thrived. The cattle multiplied. And the veterinarian who'd arrived as a desperate fugitive became the most respected animal doctor in 3 territories, with a rancher husband who never once regretted the day she collapsed on his porch. What did you think of Emma and Tom's story? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more Western tales.